The story begins in a mysterious world built thousands of kilometers above the sky. Reaching there was nothing short of inviting death, yet a few soldiers risked their lives to get there. But the very next moment, they faced the most dangerous and massive monster of that realm. Jack senses its presence and quickly hides by submerging his head in the water. Just then, a giant foot appears before him. Seeing this, the nearby sheep start fleeing in terror. The monster grabs a sheep and swallows it whole. Jack is horrified by this gruesome sight. Meanwhile, a soldier hiding behind a tree tries to look back at the monster, but the monster wrinkles its nose and catches his scent. Terrified, the soldier hides back behind the tree, but the monster approaches with giant strides. Unable to hold his breath any longer, the soldier suddenly starts running, but it's too late. He has caught the monster's eye. Without wasting a second, the monster rips the entire tree out by its roots and hurls it away. The soldier runs for his life, but his small legs are no match for the monster's long strides. The monster quickly catches up and knocks him unconscious with a single blow. Seeing a human for the first time, it leans down to inspect him closely. Just as it prepares to pick him up, the captain rushes in with a sword and plunges it into the monster's ankle with all his might. The monster screams in pain and turns around, but the next moment it kicks the captain away with a swift blow. It then pulls the sword out of its leg and picks up the two soldiers to eat them. Watching all this from a distance, Jack realizes what a huge mistake he made by coming here. Actually, some time ago, Jack obtained some magical beans with the help of a monk. When his lover, who was a princess, came to meet him, one of those seeds came into contact with water and began to grow rapidly. As a result, the wooden house started shaking violently, and strange, terrifying sounds came from below. Both were frozen in fear. Suddenly, the ground split open, and a massive vine tore through the house, surging toward the sky. Seeing this, the princess tried to escape, but a table fell on her. Jack rushed to save her, but the vines threw him out of the house.
At that moment, a wooden door swung open, and the princess saw a way out. But as she tried to flee, the vines slammed the door shut. She tried to open it, but it wouldn't budge. Seeing this, Jack grabbed an axe to cut the vine, but suddenly the entire house was ripped from its roots and started soaring into the sky. At the very last moment, Jack jumped and grabbed onto an edge, but the vine grew so fast that within seconds, the house reached thousands of meters high. Jack used all his strength to chop at the vine with his axe. As the vine snapped, the princess managed to open the door, but the wood beneath her feet broke. Despite Jack holding her hand, she began falling from a height of 10,000 meters. Jack slid down the magical vine toward the ground. The vine slowed his descent slightly, and he eventually hit the ground and lost consciousness. However, the princess wasn't so lucky. The vine carried her with it to the other side of the sky. The next morning, Jack wakes up in a panic to find the king standing before him, searching for the princess. Seeing this, Jack almost faints and is forced to tell the king everything. When Jack points toward the sky, everyone sees a massive vine piercing the clouds. Once the king learns the truth, he doesn't waste a moment and sends a group of soldiers with Jack to rescue her. Soon, they all climb the vine and reach the world above the clouds. The captain moves forward and starts sliding from one side to the other, as it was the only way to reach the princess. Jack reluctantly unbuckles his belt and prepares himself, but just as he thinks about moving, a curly-haired man standing nearby kicks him forward. Looking down from such a height, Jack panics, loses his grip while sliding, and starts falling. Luckily, the vines midway catch him. As soon as he regains his senses, he continues climbing. Upon reaching the top, the weather turns treacherous with heavy storms and lightning. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning hits a soldier, causing him to slip and knock the others down. At the last second, one soldier grabs the rope firmly, saving their lives. But the soldiers who fell were now hanging in mid-air. If they weren't pulled up quickly, the whole team would be in danger.
Just then, Roderick tells his companion to cut the rope. The man likes the idea and quickly pulls a knife hidden in his boot. The hanging soldiers plead for mercy, but showing no pity, he cuts the rope. and they fall 100,000 feet to their deaths. Somehow, the remaining soldiers reach the top, and by then it was morning. When Jack looks back, he is completely stunned. Above the clouds was a massive world, and seeing this, they all move forward. The captain spots fresh footprints all to ground, leading him to believe the princess hasn't gone down but is somewhere around here. When they exit the cave, the captain is awestruck by the view. This world was much larger than expected. As they scout the area, they notice some marks left by the princess on tree branches. Jack finds the book he had given her on the ground. They notice broken branches and conclude that a dangerous creature has taken her. The group splits into 2 teams to search for her. On the way, Jack and his companions reach a river where they see a flock of fat sheep. Having been hungry for days, they think about cooking one. But as they try to catch a sheep, a nearby trap is accidentally triggered. Jack quickly pulls out his knife and starts cutting the net. The captain also tries to cut the ropes, but his attention is drawn to something strange. All the crows nearby suddenly fly away in fear, and the sheep start running in the opposite direction. The captain gets suspicious but continues cutting the ropes. Eventually, they escape the net, but a terrifying roar echoes from the forest. A giant monster appears and takes 2 soldiers with it. Jack quietly follows the monster, waiting for the right moment to save his friends and the princess. Meanwhile, Roderick reaches a cliff with 2 soldiers. A bald man feels that searching like this is futile and moves forward to find another path. But then, Roderick makes his move. "Look, there's Isabella," he says. When the bald man turns back toward the cliff's edge, Roderick seizes the opportunity and pushes him into the deep abyss. Seeing this, Roderick's friend laughs loudly. Suddenly, a giant hand grabs him. Right then, another monster as big as a mountain appears before them. Roderick falls to the ground in terror and frantically searches his bag. Just as the monster reaches out to grab him, Roderick pulls out a shining crown. Seeing the crown, the monsters freeze as if stopped by an invisible force. It was a magical crown, and whoever possessed it could command the monsters.
Meanwhile, Jack follows the monster to the lair and is amazed by the sight. There were beautiful waterfalls and high mountains that looked like paradise. There, a 2-headed monster had the princess locked in a cage. He takes her to the other monsters who all stare at her. Then, the monster that caught the captain and the fat soldier returns and throws them in front of the cage. The 2-headed monster gets suspicious that more humans might be here. He grabs the fat soldier, snaps his neck, and swallows him alive, spitting out his armor. As the monster threatens to eat the princess too, a voice rings out that catches everyone's attention. That voice belongs to none other than the traitor Roderick. Seeing the crown on his head, all the monsters immediately drop to their knees. His true plan is finally revealed. He walks up to the 2-headed monster and commands him to kneel. Seeing the crown, the monster is forced to bow. Roderick steps on his face and slowly walks toward the throne. From that moment, Roderick becomes the new king of the monster world. He declares war on humans to conquer the entire world. The monster army cheers, but the 2-headed monster has other things on his mind. Later, a monster picks up the captain to cook him and throws him onto a pile of sticky dough. The more he struggled, the more he got stuck. The monster sprinkles handfuls of flour over him and does something disgusting. He rolls the captain up and sets him aside. Only the vegetables were left to be added. As the monster goes to get them, Jack arrives secretly. The princess is overjoyed to see him, but Jack signals her to stay quiet. While the monster is busy, Jack reaches the princess and tries to pick the lock, but it was beyond his strength. The princess tells him to save the captain first, who was lined up with the pigs. Jack reaches him and starts cutting him out of the sticky dough. As the monster returns with spices, Jack hands the knife to the captain and hides. Luckily, the monster doesn't suspect anything. He picks up some sharp stakes and stabs a nearby pig. The pig, which was screaming moments ago, goes silent.
The captain was next. The monster strikes without mercy, but his aim misses slightly. Otherwise, the captain's lineage would have ended right there. Seeing this, the princess faints. The monster then places them all in the burning oven. Jack was their only hope now. By this time, Jack had reached the iron ring above, and the monster hadn't noticed him at all. The monster picks up a sharp knife and moves toward the princess. He pulls her out and prepares to cut her on the table. But Jack quietly picks up a heavy knife. Just as the careless monster was about to strike the princess, Jack plunges the knife into the monster's spine. The monster screams in agony, but Jack holds on tight. Losing control, the monster crashes into the wall and dies. The princess and the captain are both amazed. The three of them quickly reach the magical vine, but a monster sent by Roderick was already guarding it. Jack comes up with a brilliant idea. He takes a beehive and slowly approaches the monster with the captain. The captain lifts the monster's helmet, and Jack stuffs the beehive inside. The monster was fast asleep, unaware of what was about to happen. Once the hive is inside, the captain quickly shuts the helmet. They hide behind a nearby rock and wait. Soon, the monster wakes, thrashing around from the bee stings. The more he struggled, the more the bees attacked. Panicking, the monster starts running, slips, hits a rock, and rolls toward the edge of the cliff. It looked like he would fall, but then he suddenly rips off his helmet. The three of them are shocked for a moment, but then a bee flies directly at him and stings him hard. He loses his balance and falls off the cliff. They burst into joy, unable to believe they defeated such a giant so easily. They decide to leave, but the captain stops. He explains that he must stay to take the crown from Roderick. So Jack uses a rope to start descending with the princess. Meanwhile, the falling monster hits the vine on his way down. Hearing a loud crash, the king rushes out of his tent and is terrified to see the dangerous monster. Villagers gather there too. Despite his reluctance, the king makes a major decision for the safety of his people and to prevent the monsters from coming down.
He immediately orders the general to cut the vine. Soldiers drive giant iron stakes into the massive vine, attach strong hooks, and use oxen and horses to pull it. Slowly, the massive vine begins to uproot. The soldiers nearby find themselves in danger as the central vine starts to break. Soldiers at the top begin falling, creating chaos. Jack and the princess were descending, but when they look down, they are terrified. The vine had become uncontrollable and could fall at any moment. Seizing the opportunity, Jack grabs the princess tightly, catches a hanging branch, and they slide down rapidly. When they finally fall, a pile of hay cushions their impact, and they reach the ground safely. At that moment, Roderick assembles all the monsters to prepare for an attack on humans. The two-headed monster senses a human presence, causing the captain to hide. Roderick steps forward and pulls out the magical beans to grow more vines, but suddenly the captain pounces on him. The magical seeds land on the mountain, and Roderick falls into a deep pit. Terrified, Roderick calls for the monsters. Meanwhile, the captain stands ready to fight. The two-headed monster orders the others to get him out. As the monsters start breaking the rocks, a fight breaks out between the captain and Roderick below. Roderick knocks the captain down with his long sword. He launches a relentless attack, but the captain manages to block it. Soon, the captain grows weak, and Roderick submerges him in water. Suddenly, his eyes fall on the knife floating toward him. The captain catches it with his teeth just in time and strikes Roderick in the face. Enraged by the sudden attack, Roderick pushes the captain back with his weapon. The captain is forced to retreat to the edge. Roderick delivers a powerful kick, sending him falling, but the captain clings to a rock. Roderick tries to stab his hand so he'll let go, but he underestimated the captain's strength. As he goes for the final blow, the captain grabs Roderick's own weapon and plunges it into his foot. Roderick screams in pain, and seizing the moment, the captain drives the sword into Roderick's stomach. Roderick dies instantly. With his death, the magical power of the crown fades. The captain climbs up and moves to reclaim the crown, but the cave collapses, and the two-headed monster grabs the crown first. He puts it on his finger and declares himself the new king. His power returns immediately. Seeing this, the other monsters kneel. The captain realizes that the only vine back to Earth is about to break, so without delay, he jumps onto the vine. The vine grows rapidly toward the castle. The captain takes his chance and jumps into the water.
When the two-headed monster sees the path to the human world breaking, he roars in anger. Suddenly, the smaller head points to the bag on the ground filled with magical beans. The two-headed monster picks it up and finds 4 beans. He dances with joy, blows on them, and throws them into the water. As soon as they touch the water, they begin to grow, and 4 massive vines burst through the earth. The two-headed monster gives a loud command, and all the monsters climb the vines toward the human world. At the last moment, the two-headed monster also jumps down and slides toward the ground. Meanwhile, Jack was watering his horse when he noticed the sky. He sees the monsters descending rapidly. Without wasting a second, he rides off to warn the king. The king's army was peacefully heading toward the castle. When Jack spots them, he screams that the monsters are coming. The king doesn't understand at first, but then monsters emerge from the forest, destroying everything in their path. No one could stop them. They soon reach the army and swallow a soldier alive. Even the people on horseback couldn't escape. A monster with a round face breaks a windmill blade and hurls it at the princess. It smashes into the ground, and the king's crown falls off. At the castle, soldiers see the army approaching and prepare for war. The captain, with the help of the soldiers, pours oil into the moat to stop the enemies. When the army reaches the castle, the king orders the archers to fire. Hundreds of flaming arrows are shot at the enemies. The oil catches fire, surrounding the area in flames. The army makes it safely inside the castle. Seeing the princess safe, the captain orders the gates to be closed. But Jack was still outside, with monsters on his tail. As the gates start to close, Jack panics.
But at the last second, he jumps inside with his horse. The two-headed monster tries to climb over the gate, but the captain attacks him, and he falls into the raging fire. The flames engulf him, and surprisingly, his own kind just watch him burn without helping. While the humans were talking, a massive iron bell falls from the sky and crashes into the castle. Before anyone can react, the war drums sound. 2 large iron hooks are thrown at the castle gate, and the monsters start pulling. A tug-of-war begins between humans and monsters. This was the plan of the round-faced monster, who had called more monsters to break the gate. Chaos erupts inside. Jack flees deeper into the castle with the princess. Meanwhile, the old king orders the soldiers to use crossbows. More monsters arrive and pull with all their might. On the captain's command, soldiers fire crossbows that lodge into the wooden door. Once they hit their mark, the soldiers pull the crossbow carts back. The army splits into groups, and the king joins in to help. He asks the captain about the monster's weaknesses. Just then, a burning tree falls from the sky, scattering the soldiers. More flaming trees follow, and the grip on the door begins to loosen. It seemed the door would break soon. Jack and the princess reach the inner castle, but a loud roar and a crack in the floor stop them. Terrified, they step back as rocks fly upward. 2 giant hands emerge from below. It was the two-headed monster, who survived the fire because the water protected him. He had snuck into the castle through the sewers. He catches the royal scent of the princess. Jack hides under a blanket, realizing the monster hasn't seen them yet. Enraged, the monster smashes a nearby mirror. Trembling under the blanket, they are eventually spotted. Jack grabs the princess and runs. The monster relentlessly pursues them. With no way out, they run to the second floor. They didn't dare to stop, but suddenly a hand reaches out and grabs the princess. Jack picks up an axe and strikes, but the monster grabs him with his other hand. The smaller head starts taunting Jack. In a rage, Jack hits his helmet with the axe. As the monster opens his big mouth to roar, Jack pulls out the magical bean hidden in his locket and throws it directly into the monster's mouth. The bean goes straight into his stomach. The two-headed monster senses something is wrong and slams them both to the floor. Suddenly, a vine bursts out of his body. More vines tear through him at full speed, destroying the entire hall. The king's crown falls near Jack's hand. Outside, the soldiers were still fighting to hold off the monsters. But with one roar from the round-faced monster, all the monsters push back, throwing the soldiers aside. The castle gate slowly opens. The captain tells the soldiers to close the iron portcullis. At that moment, the round-faced monster emerges from the fog with his companions. The iron gate couldn't hold him for long, and he breaks it with one jerk. The monsters storm into the castle, delighted to see the tasty soldiers. Just as they are about to attack, a sound comes from behind, drawing their attention. The monster looks closely through the crowd and suddenly drops his weapon. Seeing this, the other monsters also drop their weapons and kneel before the humans. The captain is stunned by the sight. He gives the monsters permission to return to their land, and with that, the story ends. So, friends, how did you like this story? Let me know in the comments. Many of you watch these videos on TV but forget to subscribe. I'm requesting you today, if you're watching on TV, please subscribe. See you in the next video. Until then, stay well.